Look, y'all, I was ready. All right, I had my let's go ready. All right, I did. I had the Tom Brady let's go. Like I was ready, and then I blinked and the Chiefs scored and won the game. And it was the big Patrick Mahomes run at the end, and then the field goal to end it. And it wasn't even Harrison Butker. It was whoever else is kicking for him. It doesn't matter at this point.
They Mahomes us. That's all. I mean, they do it to everybody.
It's crazy. Yeah. But anyway, welcome into the Keep Prowling podcast. I'm your host DJ Beal, and I got Gary Brode back with me, man. And we're talking these Carolina Panthers, and it's crazy because the last time you were on, I mean, it was a little doom and gloom around here in terms of what the Panthers were doing, in terms of the Panthers' ceiling, in terms of even if the Panthers could win. I mean, the last time you were on, they were about to face off against the Denver Broncos. Bryce Young was coming back in.
Yes.
You know, he had been benched. He had sat for a little bit. There was the car accident, and he was this was going to be his return game. And we were sitting here saying, I don't know if there's any way the Panthers win any of these games. And after that, they reeled off 2 straight. They almost had a third one against the Chiefs. And to play like they did, I think that's the most impressive thing. I mean, the game was pretty back and forth. I think the Chiefs did have a 2-possession lead at one point, but the Panthers rallied back and they had a chance to tie the game, which they did. They needed a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to tie the game, which is big within itself, considering an offense that couldn't score 6 points a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And for them to play with that team, I mean, I'm not saying like it's turning the season around or anything, but it gives you a little bit of hope, though. I think as a fan, as a fan base, it gives you a little bit of hope that maybe something's going right for this team finally.
I can absolutely agree with that. I think this is one of those cases, though, where you can take a win from a loss. However, you have to follow up. They don't have to follow up by winning multiple games in a row or even in the next game. They do have to follow up, though, by looking consistent over the next several weeks. It is a shining light what they're doing right now in what was, as you mentioned, one of the darkest seasons in Carolina history, and that's saying something considering last year. Things were not looking good. People wanted to get rid of Bryce Young. I couldn't blame them. I think what this does, ever since he's come back, is say, let's give the kid at least one more year. Because there's nobody in the draft class that's going to be a game changer, not the Caleb Williams prospect type, not the Jaden Daniels, that kind of game changer immediately. Yeah. Let's see what he's got now. I mean, it's not bad. They're relying on Chuba, which they should. He's having an excellent season. Yeah. And now when you're relying on the run game, you can kind of let Bryce Young, when he needs to be, just open up and do him.
And it's weird because the offense honestly got better when Deontay Johnson was shipped out of town.
Yeah.
And also when Adam Thielen was hurt, weirdly.
I don't know if – because when Andy Dalton for the first couple of weeks, he was getting Deontay the ball a lot. And the offense was clicking at that point too. I don't think it's necessarily Deontay was the problem or is the solution. Yeah. I do just think it's time that they rely on Leggett, which they have been. Absolutely. I mean, the last 4 or 5 weeks, he's considerably changed the course of the season where, we were thinking, is this another Mingo situation? And now it's like okay, this is the guy. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be Randy Moss, but this is the guy for the next couple of years. And let's, we didn't miss on this one like we did with Mingo. So I think that's the best part of seeing, Deontay go and with Thielen coming back. It's not a bad thing. It's just, again, they're 2 different types of players anyway.
Right. Yeah. And I think, too, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think out there as well about, kind of Leggett's not necessarily breakout, but just he's getting more opportunities. They're kind of forcing him the ball a little bit more. Obviously, he can make the tough catches. I mean, he's had drops here and there, but all receivers do, especially if you get the volume that you probably want him to get. He's going to have some drops. But I think to see his explosiveness and to see what he could mean to this offense, I think is huge. Jalen Coker, another guy who I think came out of left field.
Right.
I don't know if anybody expected him to, maybe besides himself, to come out and be and play as well as he's been playing. Like, I mean, he's been
be in the rotation.
Yeah, he's been the guy who, like, you just kind of throw it up. He's been a security blanket guy. You throw it up to a guy, you let him go up and get it, and he's aggressive over the middle of the field. He's aggressive down the sidelines. In the red zone, he becomes a red zone threat. Jatavion Sanders, I think he's been good too. Jonathan Brooks got kind of his first snaps last week, so that was as he gets healthy, it's good to see. And it's also good because with Chuba playing as well as he's playing, you don't have to rush Jonathan Brooks in.
Correct.
You know, you can ease him in. You can still use him as change of pace a little bit if you want. You can use him as a secondary guy, but he doesn't have to be the guy right away.
And I think with all those receivers you just mentioned, that is the reason why you can get rid of Deontay's salary. You can get rid of Mingo and let him go see if maybe he's a better fit somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Getting a 4th-round pick just shows how inept the Cowboys are, because
that was crazy.
You probably could have got a 7th round. They would have been lucky to get a 7th-round pick by any other team. Yeah. I don't understand that one. But, hey, worked out well for the Panthers, and so be it. I am, and going back to Leggett, if you looked at the numbers, and let's just compare here to like maybe a Roma Dunze, mm-hmm. they're not far off, statistically speaking, for this year. So, I mean, you're talking a top 8, 9 draft pick, I think he was, to a 2nd-round draft pick, and you're really looking about the same production. And I don't have the numbers exactly, but I think he might have better numbers or more at least yards.
I think he does, because I think he's played more than Roma.
Yeah, Roma's missed a couple. I have both of them on my fantasy team. That's why I know that. But but even if you look at Neighbors started off like a ball of fire, and he's really calmed down, and that could obviously be because of the quarterback too.
Right.
But just overall production, Leggett has looked as good as 2 of the 3, and you could even argue Harrison at times.
Yeah.
As the 3 top 10 receivers picked. I mean, that's what you have to do for as bad as the Panthers were for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You have to hit on draft picks, especially when you don't have a 1st-round draft pick.
Yeah.
And they did. So I'm not saying that, hey, Super Bowl next year. But I am saying, like, let's see where it goes, because other than the Buccaneers in the division, I don't know, who's running away with it. I don't. I think it's pretty wide open as of next year.
It is, and you can argue even with Keon Coleman, in Buffalo. I mean, he hasn't had the greatest season either. So, I think Leggett is by far and away showing that if he's not the top guy in the draft class, he's one of the top guys in the draft class.
Agreed.
For a guy who I think a lot of people feel like he might have been a little raw coming out, right? He was going to take a little bit of time to find his way. I think another thing too. I think there's 2 things. I think in terms of improvements that the Panthers have made, number one, the defense has played much better. Now, I mean, last week they gave up, 30, but still it feels like they're turning people over. They're getting off the field. It's not like it doesn't feel like it's been unstoppable lately.
Correct.
For a lot of teams. Now, I mean, albeit you're playing the Giants, right? Like, it's a little different.
But, so
but to see improvement, even still, from a team who felt like they couldn't stop anybody is good. And I think also we've seen improvement from Bryce Young in terms of he's just looked more dialed in a little bit. Like he's looked
confident.
And that's
he looks like he's got his swag.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he's been decisive with the ball. He's been decisive to run, and not just running because he thinks he can make a play. He's running because it's there. Making the throw because it's there. His fundamentals have been back, and honestly, I think it was probably a good thing for him to sit for a little bit.
I agree.
To get his confidence back, to sit down, to breathe, to understand. You're the guy until proven otherwise.
Yeah.
We're gonna give you a little bit. We're gonna give you more chances than we're gonna give the other guys because you're the number. You're the former number 1 overall pick. So and we know it's gonna take time. And I think that's the thing too. It's hard for as an organization. Time hasn't been on the Panthers' side because they've been so quick to pull the trigger and finding the next guy.
Well, and that's what happens when you trade so many draft picks to get your guy. You kind of feel like we have to see right away if he's it. Yeah. But the truth is, if you really sit back and think about it, you should wait. I mean, you should have let him kind of ease his way in, kind of how Season 2 has played out. Season 1 probably would have been a little bit better, maybe, potentially. It's easy to say that now. But had Bryce had 6, 7, 8 games to get acclimated, sitting the bench as he did this year, I think, again, this is still very early, but I think him being benched for a few weeks was the right move. I think that he has now clearly shown the ability to scramble, to use his legs, to be more Kyler Murray-esque. It's easy to compare the two. They're very similar in size.
Yeah.
I think that's where, for now, his bread and butter needs to be because the offensive line is still not good.
Right.
So use your legs, keep the defensive ends in the pocket, and then things are going to open up downfield. You're going to have more time. I mean, that's the way that I feel like that's the only thing that's going to happen. It kind of did happen against Kansas City, too, which is a pretty good defense. Like that is, let's be very clear, 27 points against the Chiefs. Yeah. That's not anything to scoff about. Like that's a very impressive stat line right there. Mm-hmm. And again, I think that this is a case where if they can rattle off a couple of impressive games, doesn't have to be wins, but just games, this can build into something next year.
Yeah, and I think it could be one of those situations where you're right there at the end, kind of like this game where it's like the fact that you're there, the fact that you're competing, is way better than anything you've probably done this whole season. Maybe even better than some of the wins you've gotten this season.
Oh, absolutely.
So, for you to, and especially like we've just seen it over the past couple of weeks, seen it with the Chiefs, seen it with the Giants, like to just compete, even to get punched in the mouth and get up, that's a testament to coaching and Dave Canellis, growing into his role too. And I think like I'm excited to see what they're going to do just as the season goes along, just to see, because, when you get down as low as they had gotten at that point in the season, that early in the season, sometimes it's just like you just throw it all out there.
So the one thing I do want everyone at home to be kind of cognizant of, though, there are teams that, and the Arizona Cardinals always kind of stick out to me, teams that have a lot of talent, teams that might at times look like they could turn a corner, but then never really truly learn how to win and string together a lot of games, and never be that proverbial division leader that they have the talent to be. So again, it's early, but that's a case where you can't say all moral victories. Like this was a moral victory, we'll take that. But if you're looking at multiple moral victories for the rest of the season, you're kind of getting that complacency and that tendency of losing, and that it's okay to lose, which I'm not saying that's how they feel, but you have to watch out for that, especially from a fan base, because if you're just saying, oh, that was a close one, we almost got him this time, you have to turn the corner a little bit. Otherwise, it's just going to be the same thing over and over. And teams, I say this about the Browns for years, teams learn how to win and teams learn how to lose. And then once you learn how to lose, it is much harder to kind of break that, obviously, than it is to learn how to win. And that, and that's where you have to watch out for that. But if we're just talking about the last 3 weeks plus the bye, you cannot be too much more excited than right now because of how they've played.
Yeah, and I think too, it kind of brings us into their game this week against Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay coming here, and just this division that is kind of wide open now. Like, I know the Panthers are at the bottom of it, but nobody's running away. Like, it's not like there's not a Chiefs in this division, right? Like, it's not like nobody's like they're off and running in this division.
I mean, I think you could safely say the Falcons would be the front runner for the rest of the year, and they should be.
But I think the problem with them is they're inconsistent.
Of course,
I mean,
they are.
They'll drop a couple games where you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how did that even happen? And I think that's the problem. Is like I think it's a 2-team race almost with them and the Bucs.
Let's not get crazy here.
Yeah.
The Panthers had a few good weeks. We're not talking playoffs, division, anything like that. It's more about let's get to 5-6 wins and not be the bottom feeders of the entire NFL. And that's kind of where they're shaping right now, mainly because the Giants are just god awful. And a few teams on top of that.
Right. But I think it does. It gives you a chance to play some competitive games against your division coming up.
Sure.
Because they got a couple of those. They got the Bucs twice. They got the Saints again, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I mean, they have some games where it's like, they got the Falcons. They have some games where they can maybe string together some wins and, show that they can compete in this division. Maybe play some spoiler for some of these teams and make it a little bit more difficult for them.
And that's all great, but I think, I think it's better to start to build the momentum on the non-divisional games only because of what you were saying about how weak the division is.
Yeah,
I'd like to see them kind of play like they did last week, above the talent that they're used to playing against 6 games a year. And let's see, that top-notch quarterback. Let's see how they handle that top-tier dual threat, receivers, or let's see the 2 edge rushers, or a team that really hones in on whatever they're really great at.
Yeah.
Let's see how they handle a team like that. And I don't know who's coming up for them.
So just for you all out there, for you as well, just so you can hear. Like, I mean, you got
the Eagles right there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's one. Let's see that. Like, that's where I want to see, because they're a juggernaut right now. Barkley's probably top 2 or 3, if not 1, in the MVP.
Yeah.
If you can, let's say beat them.
Yeah.
Maybe play them close, and we'll talk moral victory again.
Yeah.
That's a game for the next 5 that if you can play that one close, the rest of them are all very winnable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm interested to see, and when I had brought up the schedule too, I was curious to see what they would do with the Eagles because that's going to be the toughest one out of the bunch.
Yeah,
I mean that might be the toughest one for the rest of the season.
Oh, it is. No, it absolutely is. Yeah.
So with that, it's
sure
like,
ain't the Cowboys. I promise you that one.
So it's going to be.
Yeah, there's winnable games. I mean that's where it's doable to win 5-6 games.
Mm-hmm.
It should be the goal to win 6. I think. I mean. You always hear about, you can't play for anything, so why not get a better draft pick? But, I mean, the truth is, unless you're trying to get the number 1 quarterback, the number 1 overall pick, I'd still want to see, especially when you got Bryce Young who's playing better, I'd still rather see momentum build towards the next season and win 5, 6, 7 games rather than, 3 or 4 and have 5, 6, 8 picks better. That's just, I mean, to me, that's just, let's win some games and let's just finish on a hot streak.
Yeah, and I think, the Bucs is a good place to start. I think it's a tough one because of how, I think the Bucs are typically,
well, Baker's
pretty
good.
consistent.
Baker's good. I mean, he's better than we thought. Baker's a good quarterback and he's doing well. And I'm not basing it off of what they did last week against the Giants, but they're a pretty solid team. Yeah, they're not a guaranteed win, but they're always a winnable game.
Right, and I think the other interesting part of it is they have injury issues right now too. So that's a place you can exploit if you are the Panthers, right? Exploiting those kind of holes that's in within that offense because I mean some of the talent that they've had previously isn't there for them. You just on account of health at the moment.
And you're not wrong, but those injuries happened several weeks ago, and I think after a certain point you can kind of rebuild your identity as a team. Yeah. Obviously the Bucs had their identity, which was 2 stud wide receivers, but now they can start to build on. Let's go after the tight end, which they're using a lot more. Let's run the ball. Bucky Irving's balling right now.
He is,
those. You just change your identity. First couple weeks is tough, but 3, 4, 5 games in a row, you could start to figure out. All right, well, we're not that anymore.
Yeah.
Let's be this. So I don't think that's really going to help them as much as it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but it's still winnable in the sense that you're familiar with them, you're playing better. There's not a huge disparity in talent, top to bottom, just maybe with the quarterback, right? Well, definitely with the quarterback. But outside of that, I mean, it's really not a big difference in talent. So it's winnable for sure, especially being at home.
Definitely. So let's pick the games and let's get on out of here. Look, so the last time Gary was on the show, it was I was 12-6.
Yes, you were.
He was 11-7.
Good win, my friend.
So
you got me by 1.
It was funny.
Those are still, by the way, I used to do polls and stuff, and if you win 10, 11 games in general, that's still very good. So good on you. That's a good week for both of us.
Especially in the type of league that I feel like the NFL is. You never know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like I mean, even that week. I mean, we were talking about the Browns and the Ravens and how close of a game it could be. But did we necessarily think the Browns were going to beat the Ravens that week? No. So it was it's a very interesting.
Of course.
Week. But let's jump into some of the Thanksgiving games. So we got the Chicago Bears at the Detroit Lions. Okay, I'm gonna go Chicago.
Oh wow!
Just out of
being a contrarian over there.
Yeah,
okay.
All right. I mean, I don't know if I trust Chicago. I do
There's
trust Detroit.
nothing to trust about it.
I do trust
Detroit.
Detroit
Looks like the best team of football. They are the best team of football.
Yeah, they look good. You think they're better than the Bills?
Yes.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Their
offense is so explosive.
Yeah.
And there's no weapon. There's no holes in their team offensively that you really do have to put 30 up against them. Them losing Hutchinson might have hurt their chances to win the Super Bowl, but to me, they are still the best team.
Yeah, they still
football.
look good. Yeah, I agree. The New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Can we just go to sleep on this?
Yeah,
one?
I might.
I mean,
that's gonna be turkey time.
Look, I mean, yeah.
And I'm a Cowboys fan. That's gonna be turkey time.
This will be after your turkey's over. You can go and take a nap.
I've already decided that'll be on in the background while I'm putting the Christmas tree up. I'm not even gonna watch it, but I'll take the Cowboys because
it's worth watching though. It's
the
Giants,
in the
right?
back. No, it's not.
You don't want Dallas just to beat the Giants and just at least get you.
No, this is one of those cases I would rather have a better draft pick. Actually, they would be doing us a favor if they beat us. I prefer it. I mean, I think the Cowboys should win, but they will. I mean, because this is a Cowboys thing to do. They'll probably win 7 or 8 games this year, hurt their draft chances, fire McCarthy still, but have a quarterback worth $250 million who is now coming off a major injury. So this is just a very Cowboys thing to do.
Yeah, it's like his second one, right?
Yeah.
So that
in about 7 years too.
Yeah. Miami Dolphins at the Green Bay Packers. I'm going to go with Green Bay.
I like the way Miami's playing right now. I don't like the way Green Bay is playing in Lambeau. Though Miami is not very good in the cold, and they statistically have not been since McDaniel's taken over. Yeah. I guess I think I am going to go Green Bay for that reason.
Okay. So Black Friday game, the Vegas Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs.
If the Chiefs lose that game, I will be 2 years in a row because they lost on Christmas to them. Yeah. I would be shocked. I'll take the Chiefs.
Okay, I'm gonna take the Chiefs too. I think I learned my lesson from last time, because actually that was another game that we had talked about last time. So, yeah, I think I learned my lesson. So the LA Chargers at the Atlanta Falcons.
I'll take the Chargers. Chargers are a good team. They just they got beat by a better team.
Yeah, I think they bounce back too. I just think they're better than Atlanta is. I mean, Atlanta seems like they will be good, but Pittsburgh at Cincinnati.
I like Cincy for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think Pittsburgh's that good. I really don't. I think Russell Wilson is playing better than he should be. The defense is good, but again, that's another one of those teams with Pittsburgh. If Cincy can put up 23 points, that's probably game over. And they've proven that against anybody they play, they could put that up. Yeah. And I think Cincy, while they won't make the playoffs, they will be in that 9-8, 8-9 range. Where they'll be so close, and we'll be talking about them till week 16. But then they'll ultimately lose a couple. So I think this is about the time that they start to turn it around.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cincy wins too. I mean, just what you said. I don't think Pittsburgh is nearly as good as people think they are. Houston at Jacksonville.
I'm going to take Jacksonville.
Okay.
I think this is the last win they get for the rest of the year. I really believe that. Okay. Houston's they're flailing. They don't look good. Their only win the last 4 or 5 games have been the Cowboys. I think if you looked at just name recognition, you'd be like, oh, Houston for sure. Mm-hmm. Both teams are not playing well. I mean, Jacksonville's playing miserably, but I think this could be the last hoorah for Jacksonville and possibly Doug Peterson.
Okay, I'm gonna go Houston. For the safety of the pick.
Sure.
Arizona at Minnesota.
Ooh, I think Arizona is in that stage right now where they're win a couple, lose a couple, and they just lost one, so I think they'll lose another one. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take Minnesota against them.
Okay, I'm going to take Minnesota too. I just think they're I don't know. The Cardinals, once again, one of those teams that's got all the talent in the world, but can't put it together.
Can't learn how to win consistently.
Yeah, so that's exactly what you had said earlier. Indianapolis at New England. New England gonna sneak up and get this game.
It's a late November game. I like New England. This will be an ugly one, 18-13 kind of game. But I think this has a chance. Yeah, this is New England written all over them for me.
Okay, Seattle.
Who you got?
New York. Oh, for me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going New England. I think they're gonna sneak in and win the game. Yeah, I think they sneak. I think they sneak through. I think they find a way. Seattle at the New York Jets. The Jets are not winning this game.
Seattle. Yeah. The Jets won't win another game this year. I think they'll shut down Aaron Rodgers in 2 or 3 weeks anyway.
Yeah, they're done on that one. And good defense to play too. So yeah, it's tough. Tennessee at Washington. Tennessee's gonna sneak up and win this game.
I you know what? I could see why you would say that. And Washington's been sputtering a lot in the last couple of weeks, especially. But after that Cowboys loss, I just think that's the shot in the arm that they need. And I still think that they're a 10-win team, and they got to start winning these games to become a 10-win team because they need 3 more. Mm-hmm. And Tennessee's not a good team.
Yeah, Tennessee's not. Yeah, they're not good, but I think their defense is good. Yeah, and their defense is good. So I think because of that, they'll get the win. So I think with Tampa and Carolina, I'm gonna go Carolina. I think they're gonna. I think Carolina's gonna start stacking some wins here. I think, with the exception of maybe the Eagles, I think we can see some good football out of Carolina.
I'm gonna take Tampa. I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'm gonna take Tampa.
Okay. The LA Rams at the New Orleans Saints.
Rams.
Yeah, I agree.
Saints are done.
Yep, I agree. Philadelphia at Baltimore.
Great game.
It really is.
Exceptional game. And quite frankly, if you really think about it, whoever shines in this game between Lamar, Henry, and Barkley, could really cement themselves as the MVP.
Yeah.
Baltimore's coming off that's a Monday night game. That's a high energy game. I'm going to take Philly on the road, and it's not a far. That's like a 2.5 hour road game. Yeah. So I think Philly will travel well for that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to take Philly.
Okay, I'm taking Baltimore. I think this is a proving game for them. I think they've lost some games they probably shouldn't have, and I think they got a point to prove.
For both though too.
I think you could. I think you could put either team
Absolutely.
in that discussion. San Francisco at Buffalo.
I told you at the beginning of the year I thought the Niners were done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they missed their window, and
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing I've definitely gotten right so far this year.
That's right.
I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree. I think Buffalo wins this game too. Buffalo, they don't look like they're slowing down. If they slow down, it'll be closer to the end of the season, not right now.
If you gave me right now at this point of the season, what are we, week 13,
Yeah.
12 or whatever it is, I would say my Super Bowl matchup will be the Lions and Buffalo.
Okay.
I think I can comfortably say that.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast the season's going.
Right?
Monday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos.
I like the Broncos. I mean, I think Cleveland got their big win last week, and they're not a good team. I mean, they have good players, they have a good defense, they have a good system, they have a good coach, but you don't have a good quarterback. And I'll take Peyton at home, so I think I'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna switch.
This
it up.
will be close, though.
I'm gonna switch it up and go Cleveland. I think Cleveland by hook or by crook gets the win. Maybe just defensively.
I feel like you did that just to be contrarian too. That's only two.
I gotta
to switch
win.
It up.
Look, I gotta win. I gotta win the.
Well,
the fixer,
yeah,
so
all right, I'll take it.
here we
It's
go.
a way
I'm
for me
going
to get
it.
back in. Let's do this.
But Gary, we're gonna get on out of here.
Yes,
I know
sir.
you got a busy day. I got a busy day, so we'll definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember the Keep Prowling podcast on all major podcasting platforms. So check us out there. We'll see you guys on the next episode of the Keep Prowling podcast.